Welcome to the Real Advisor Podcast, TRAP, TRAP. Please follow us and join in the conversation on Twitter @Advisor Podcast, where you can suggest ideas and themes you'd like the TRAP team to discuss. Also remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a 6 out of 5-star review on iTunes. Doing all this really helps us, which means we can do more to help you. Now let's head over to the studio for the latest pile of TRAP.
Yes, indeed, dear trappers. Welcome back to what many people are calling episode 91 of the Real Advisor Podcast, TRAP, TRAP. My name is indeed Lick Lincoln, and joining me in the digital studio of doom, as ever, are the 3 other horsemen of the apocalypse. Alan, nearly beaten by Wales. Smith, Carl, not bad. Widger, and Andy,
Scotland.
Together we see
your light again. Right, Nicholas.
Oh,
now
what
identifies as
fabulous
Irish.
weekend. What a fabulous weekend.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
boy,
congrats,
boy. Right,
Carl. Although it wasn't too difficult in the end, was it?
No,
Great again the week before.
Very poor.
We have to talk about this. You forced me to talk about it, Mr. Hart, a couple of weeks ago, with Scotland's inauspicious start in Rome.
I know.
But we made up for it with the
Kicking
only
yourself
thing
now.
that Scotland really ever want to win in the Six Nations, being the Calcutta Cup for the 5th year out of the last 6. 5 out of 6 so far. And even the one game that England won was only by 1 point. It was very lucky. So it's been a good tournament for us so far. Good win against Wales. Fantastic comeback. Some exquisite play by Finn Russell in particular. It's genius.
This is framing. This is genius framing. You're right.
I've got a drop somewhere of a barrel being scraped, but I can't find it, so I won't play.
Just look at the table. That's the fact, Nicholas.
I am so looking forward to a match that is coming up soon, and it is England against Italy.
Yeah. In a couple of weeks in Rome.
Right, good. Got it out your systems?
It'll be good.
No, I'm going to refer back to it lots. So apologies
I will
to
say
all
well played
those.
Scotland against us and well played Ireland against us. Both England were very poor, but both those teams played really well. And what can you do? You've got to suck it up. We take it.
Andy, what are you this week now? Are you Scottish, Welsh,
I'm
English?
solidly Scottish this week.
Yes, good boy. Good boy.
Little bit of Welsh.
Okay, enough. For our non-rugby fans, that's already tuning out. Okay, let's get
Exactly,
the
let's
show on the
get
road. And let's do it as ever with another high energy review read read out by my very good friend, the Right Honourable Mr. Andrew Ursane Hart.
Thank you, Nicholas. This is from James Brown from Need Financial Planning. Having been told about this podcast by a fellow advisor a few months ago, I am officially hooked. Love listening to you all, and always nice to hear some of my internal thoughts being echoed by 4 titans of industry. I felt compelled to finally write in after hearing Carl's beautiful dedication to his dad and family. Having lost my dad in 2021 and inheriting his firm after only working with him since 2015, I know all too well the impact of trying to run a business while simultaneously losing your idol and role model. He would have turned 67 today. People will tell me how lucky I am to have what I have, the firm, the business income, etc. But to echo Carl's sentiments, I just miss my dad. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. It's bloody brilliant. See you at Trap Live. Back to you, Nicholas.
Thank you, James.
Wow, what can you say? Yeah, lovely. Thank you, James, and thank you. Well, I'm sorry that you've gone through that hardship, but it happens to us all in due course. Okie dokie. Keep the reviews coming in. They can't all be as heartfelt as James, but anything we get is great for us. We are thin-skinned egomaniacs. It's not a good combination, so we need reviews to keep us going, okay? Otherwise, we just lose the will a little bit. Okay, let's put a timestamp on episode 91 of the Real Advisor Podcast, Trap. Just to give you an update, guys and girls, and those in between, tickets from Trap Live are going like very warm comestibles, as they say. And the ticket office, hold on, Bob's at the door. Yes, Bob?
Mr. Lincoln, down to 18 tickets. 17.
Down to 17 tickets, Bob tells me, for the ticket office. So please get to the realadvisorpodcast.com, book your ticket. You do not want to be on the 13th of May sitting somewhere just having the worst attack of FOMO when he could have just come along to this event. It is, people talk about community, right? Providers talk about community, fostering community. I know of nothing that comes close to Trap Live in terms of meeting the other Trappists, for advisors, by advisors. It's hard to describe it until you're there. We've got a great venue. We're going to put on a great show. It's going to be a great thing. Networking opportunities, shits and giggles, and we'd love to see you all there. So have a look at that. Okay.
Just to add to that, Nick, a big trap fan, Chris Emmott, is flying in all the way from South America, Chile. He's coming in from Chile, and he will be hosting a sort of pre-Trap Live drinks sharpeners before the event. So, and he will we'll post connections. But if anyone who doesn't know him, reach out to Chris Emmott, EMMOTT. Find him on LinkedIn. Jetting in from South America.
He's founding the Trap Ultras.
Yeah,
they're going to be the rowdy crew at the back of the room.
But I think the point being is, as Nick has eloquently explained, it is about community. It's not about us four jokers talking nonsense on a stage. It's about people getting together, having a glass of something cold, and chatting about life in general and business. So it is a real community event. Look forward to seeing you then.
Great stuff. Can't wait. I'm really excited. Less than 3 months now, and it's just racing by. Right, okay. Topical Titbits. Wodge.
Yeah, so let's all try and have an adult conversation about this. So keyboard warriors, down your tools, please. The Bitcoin price volatility of the last number of months. I just thought I'd talk about it. Let's not go there as to whether Bitcoin is a good investment or a bad investment, but let's talk about it from the point of view of being a financial advisor and having your clients invested in something that you have recommended. So if you're like me, old enough to remember the financial crisis and some of those dark days when we were looking at 30-40% temporary market decline, it was, how hard was it back then to keep your clients in their seats? And I would have learned so much back around then in terms of, having an investment philosophy, being able to tell the story when things are good. But back then, I suppose I didn't have that skill set in terms of trying to keep clients in their seats. And I suppose my point here is, for those who are gone totally and utterly all in on Bitcoin, you may well say that, Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin is going to, bounce back, even though it's kind of half the price that it was only a short couple of months ago. That's all well and good, but are your clients, are they in it for the long haul, or are Bitcoin investors in it for the shorter term? I don't know the answer, but I did look at some of the numbers. 3 months down 23%, 6 months down 42%. I'm doing this for a reason. Year to date down 26%. One year down 31%, and 2 years up 30%. But if you look at the figures over 2 years and 5 years, so the growth numbers, it still has quite significantly now underperformed the S&P 500. So you'd want to have a really good story to tell your clients as to why you told them that they should go all in on it. I do think that most advisors have been pretty good about this, and they've just said this is for a small portion of your money. And I'm not saying that that's wrong at all. It's just the people who are, I suppose, the most vociferous about this when I look at it, and the people who slag me off when I talk about it, they're saying, it's all in and I'm gone all in on Bitcoin or whatever. Well, you're kind of reeling now, and you have a choice to make, and your clients have a choice to make. So, look, I have spoken about it. I have spoken about it in positive terms when Stripe, went into the kind of crypto payments world and bought that company. Talked about Coinbase. So is cryptocurrency here to stay? And people are going to immediately go, he totally confused cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, right? I'm not, but I'm saying I'm putting them all into one large melting pot. It's going to be bloody difficult to say why you had your clients all in on Bitcoin if you have done. So diversification, my friends, is your friend. what will work in the future is what has always worked in the past, in my view. Sorry, Nick, I kept on speaking there, even though I did see your hand raised.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. So I don't want to make this into is it a good investment thing and incur your ire. Yes, 2008, 9, 2000 and 2000 to 2003, and the various blips in between when the great companies were plummeting in value.
Mm-hmm.
We earned our corn and we learnt the scripts to say, and they are scripts, right? You have to have a clear, coherent message that you can convey with confidence to your clients in those absolute panic-stricken moments. As you might well expect, I haven't got any clients anywhere near Bitcoin, okay?
Yeah.
If I did, what scripts would I be using with them? Because with the great companies of the world, we know what we're going to say. The companies haven't changed. The market's just pissing the bed. This too shall pass. The great companies will still be the great companies tomorrow. We know, Mr. and Mrs. Client, that longer term, stock markets are driven by earnings. There's an amazing correlation. And the earnings of these companies are going up and up and up all the time. This too shall pass, and the share price shall revert to correlating with earnings. As ever with Bitcoin, what have you got?
Same story, yeah.
Yeah.
What have you got? You haven't got the same story.
Yeah.
You haven't got earnings per share. You haven't got great companies. You've got wizards on clouds. You're looking for the bigger fool to buy something from you on a promise that he or she can then sell it on for more money. And that's why I think it'd be really, really difficult to stop people bailing out. And also, we haven't got 150 years of market prices to fall back on. We don't know where this thing's going to go. It could go through there. It could absolutely go, gangbusters. But we can't say that, and we can't. If it does, we can't say. We won't be able to say why it did it. It just did. So very, very difficult. And I imagine the unadvised section of the Bitcoin community, which must be the vast 99% of the money in it. Yeah, I reckon there'll be a lot of people who are trying to come out of it. I guess thereby,
and therein is the problem, And I suppose what you're talking about, Nick, really at its core is: have you got an investment philosophy? Have you, Alan talks about this. Have you got it written down? And can you say, we stuck to that now over the last 10 years, 15 years, over a very long period of time. We haven't decided, oh, Jesus, that Bitcoin, that sounds like a good thing to get involved in. I'm sure everyone is getting involved in that now. So let's change our investment philosophy. So look, it's harsh lessons learned. I read a kind of a funny interview in one of the business sections here, and there was a guy speaking about Bitcoin and said, he sold out of Bitcoin. He bought a little bit in the early days, sold out to buy wedding presents. He said they were the most expensive wedding presents of all time. And then when it went back up, I got back in, and then it crashed again. So it's made a fool of me twice, And like anything, the person in it for the fast buck, the too good to be true merchants, right? That's exactly what it is. It's too good to be true. Real investors stay the long game. Speculators are not investors.
Smithy.
Yeah, continuing this conversation, I like the spirit in which this is being held. It's above board, no bun fighting, what have you. But statements of facts are always welcome. I find the whole thing quite interesting. I have to say, and I know quite a lot of people who are active in the Bitcoin community, I don't know any, or certainly any advisors who've been recommending their clients go all in on Bitcoin. It's been anything but that. It's been, you may wish to have a small allocation to Bitcoin. You may wish to. It's that sort of conversation that's been held. A couple of other facts worth mentioning. Bitcoin is volatile. Anyone that's been anywhere near it has recognized its volatility. So you wouldn't go into it investing, expecting it to be anything other than volatile. In the last 12 months, particularly, it's been more volatile than it has been over longer periods. But statement of fact is actually, it's interesting. It's less volatile, for example, than Tesla as an individual stock. And and there's a bunch of stocks. You can shake your head, Nick, but it's just a statement of fact. It's less volatile than a number of S&P 500 stocks. The facts remain that Bitcoin has underperformed the S&P 500 over 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years in recent times. It's been particularly volatile. Having said that, no one that's owned Bitcoin since it began, no one who's held it for 4 years, for more than 4 years, has lost out. So what you're saying is, if you're a Bitcoin investor albeit for 1, 3, 5, 10% of your overall allocation, all you're being asked to do is hold it for 4 years. Now, equities can't say that. I think equities is 20 years plus, whereby you could say that if you held it for that period of time, you wouldn't have had a negative return. 20 years, looking at buying at the very peak and looking at when it bottomed. So I think overall, you're right. It is going through the issue that I see about Bitcoin is it's not so much if people are buying it as a trading asset because they want to get rich, then they are going into it, in my opinion, for the wrong reasons. Bitcoin is a philosophy. And the major philosophy surrounding Bitcoin is that fiat currencies, which have the ability, countries, as we know, in the UK, in Europe, in the US, everyone around the world is able to print at will more and more of this same monetary system, create more of something. So you and I, all of us have got to work for something that someone else can press a button and print billions of. So that over the long term, currencies devalue. It does favor companies because companies, assets, when money printing is going on, inflation is going up, those with assets place their money somewhere to get a return. Hence, real estate, property, equities tend to do well over those periods. So Bitcoin is a philosophy. And I for one, just to finish off, I for one, just take as a hedge against the continued inflation, monetary debasement, and loss of purchasing power of currencies, I, for one, think it's not a bad position. And I haven't advised any client to invest in it. I've responded to some clients who already own Bitcoin and tried to guide them. And I've got a point to say on that on the next topical tidbit. I don't think it's a bad hedge to have a small percentage allocated to this as part of a very diversified portfolio, which would probably be predominantly global equities. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, and for me, just to kind of comment on a couple of points you made there, like it's a hedge if you've got play money, right? Because it is play money for me. And I don't know anybody, Alan, who's investing. Like you said, what was your point there? It's a philosophy as opposed to an investment, effectively.
Well, as opposed to a get rich quick. I mean, I know people do pile into it because they've seen the returns that it's had.
Yeah.
But
there's very few people, I would say, holding it for 4 years, Alan. Like anybody I know, they're talking about the money that they made in a get rich quick scenario. But look,
so I would say they've philosophically got it wrong because they've seen it as a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah, and I don't just to say that. I don't see people in playpen territory having an allocation to Bitcoin. I'd be totally okay with that. In fact, if I had playpen money myself, I'd probably do the same. And it would be purely a hedge, just in case, right? Just in case this thing does right. Yeah,
it works.
But that's not much of an investment philosophy either, and that's why I wouldn't be. But that's why I wouldn't be saying, if I wasn't
FOMO is a big investment philosophy. It's not the right one, but it's a big one.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point, Andy, isn't it? And FOMO will make it really hard to sit in your seat, stare out the window, and do nothing when you're down 50%. And let's remember, right, that it's down 50%, so it has to grow by 100% to get back to where it was. I mean, these are big, big, big numbers. And anyway, look, it's to coin your phrase, Alan, it's a philosophical discussion, really. But yeah, it
is, and I think that's the point. And I think we can. I mean, once you get down rabbit holes of Bitcoin, there's dozens of different ways you can take it. You talk about it's a play around energy and the creation of energy. It's about it is a store of value longer term. It's digital gold. I mean, there's some interesting statistics looking at gold, for example, in comparison with the S&P 500. And S&P 500 underperforms over the very long term compared with gold. Yeah. For example, but none of us are piling into gold anytime soon.
Well, there was a lot of people piling into gold, clearly, because the price has gone up enormously. And the digital gold thing, right? So I've heard that one. But what were those? The art, but it was digital art. What was all
NFTs.
that? NFTs. Like, that's digital art. So and the coining the phrase, forgive the pun, coining the phrase digital gold is equally as bullshitty as NFTs for me. I think it's a different thing altogether, because I think that kind of that has an allure to it. It's
framed well.
Yeah,
it's good marketing. It's good marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it's a little bit like what we're going to talk about later on. You know, the marketing is coming from the holders of the investment. Anyway, look, sorry, I've probably taken up way too much time. It's just an interesting discussion right now.
Yeah,
it's fair point, Carl. Noted. We'll come back to this in a year.
Let's move on.
But just following that's up. I did want to do a shout out because we do have a number of high net worth clients that own Bitcoin as a hedge. They say as an asymmetric bet. This is the next point, Nick. Don't get excited. So I'm carrying on. Is an asymmetric bet. If it went to zero, it wouldn't kill them. But if it did anything like the returns that it's enjoyed since inception, it will make a meaningful impact, even by holding 3 or 5%. We have, as I say, we've got clients who own it, and now that clients who own it and are getting older, there is an issue around inheritance tax and safe custody of these assets. So I'm talking about assets that aren't necessarily held on a platform like Coinbase. You can hold Bitcoin, as you know, in cold wallet, cold storage. There's a multiple different ways that you can actually own and hold it. And that's all well and good whilst you have the keys and you know what you're doing with it. But there's a concern, and lots of Bitcoin have already been lost. I'm not just talking about the guy in Wales whose other half threw it in the trash, but through accidents, through death, through a number of things like that. So for anyone, and I'm sure there'll be at least a few people listening into this whose clients do own Bitcoin, and if you want to offer an additional added value service to those clients as they get older around inheritance tax planning, logging these things, making sure that there's safety and security involved. There's gentleman I've been speaking with recently because one of our clients is particularly interested in this. I've posted a link in the show notes to Alan Edwards from Evoke Vault. So it's a nice, modern, sophisticated way that you can hold if they already own these assets and they're concerned about their children inheriting them or any number of other things. There's a nice, elegant solution, and apparently a lot of the big law firms are taking this up because if you're a law firm writing wills and trusts on behalf of wealthy clients, increasingly a number of those clients do hold digital assets in one form or another. So rather than have them sort of just disappear somewhere, he's got a nice solution for it. As I say, Evoke Vault, and a link is in the show notes.
Alan, question for you on the clients, the kind of high net worth clients who are, buying some cryptocurrency as a hedge. Typically, how are they doing it? So are they actually buying Bitcoin directly, or are they doing,
Well, they're
ETFs,
generally buying it through an exchange, through something like Coinbase or Coin Corner or any number of these other exchanges. People are doing it different ways. Some people are setting up monthly contributions, weekly contributions, but they're generally using it. Coinbase would be the most favored, as you know, an S&P 500 company, probably the largest or one of the largest out there. So they're buying it through that, but then often they will want to move it into their own private wallet. So you can take it off the exchange and into your private wallet. And that, as much as that is, that's what the real Bitcoiners would do, because they're removing themselves effectively from the system. They can own it, they can transfer it, they can go across borders, they can do anything they want with it. But you are your own banker. And if you happen to lose those 12 or 24 words, which is your seed phrase, the money's gone, the value's gone. So it's great in many ways, but it's risky.
Are you also your own tax man in that scenario?
Well, you are your own tax man anyway. You this country relies on what do you call it? Self-disclosure?
Declaration.
Declaration. So yes, you are.
Okay.
But,
interesting.
Yeah. But although increasingly the HMRC have recently confirmed that they're getting data from platforms and exchanges just to make sure that there's nothing untoward going on. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
it's a whole other conversation. Just looking at that, you made the kind about gold outperforming the S&P over longest time periods. The longest I can find is 1971, which is a pretty good lick, best part of 6 decades. £10,000 in gold today would be worth £702,000. £10,000 in the S&P would be worth 3.61 million. I don't know quite what length period you were thinking of holding gold for.
Over 100 years. Over 100 years, Nick, is 100 to 1. The American market's performed 100 times better than gold over 100 years.
Okay.
Recent
that's just
times,
dividends.
Very different. Recent times, very different.
That's just dividends, really. It's just the compounding effect of dividends. Okie dokie. Thank you for that. So my one's right down the weeds. We can go through this without any comment, really. But UK advisors, certainly, we know that if you go into Flexi Access Drawdown and you take an income payment via your platform, sometimes the client gets clobbered with income tax because HMRC think, oh, they're taking a one-off payment, but we're going to multiply it by 12 to work out what their annual income is, and then we'll apply a tax rate on that first tranche at this enormous marginal rate. And there's no way really around it, I don't think. But what I have found, certainly with Transact, I'm sure with other leading platforms as well, once that first payment has settled down, the client's been overcharged tax, just put through a £1 gross withdrawal on your platform, and they will get the tax refund back pretty much the same day. HMRC now are very good at issuing a correct tax coding notice once they've taken the amount off. And it works. I've done it twice in the last 2 weeks for clients.
So just clients. Wow, cool.
Prep the clients, frame them, say, listen, the first payment's going to be a bit of a bodge job. HMRC are going to take more tax than we think they should do. Don't worry about it. It looks like if we just put through a further £1 withdrawal a week or so later, once it's all settled, instantaneously the money will be back in your account. And it has worked twice. So that's a nice, it's not ideal, but it's way better than it used to be, where clients had to go to self-assessment or phone up HMRC when they used to answer the phone lines, which apparently they don't do much more of anymore.
I think you guys have not put your hands down. Have Transact guided you and said that that's correct, Nick? Like there's just this quirk in the system?
I've done it, mate. I've just done it anyway.
But did you not reconfirm it with Transact that that's what you're doing, and you found that it's worked?
No, because the thing with Transact, you certainly with other platforms as well, I'm sure, but Transact, you go on and say, I want to take £1, and it's before you hit the submit thing, it says, okay, the amount that actually get paid out is this, and it's a figure like £800 because they're bringing forward, and they say it's tax rebate, isn't it? So you haven't got to speak to anybody, you just tee it up, and if it's not looking right, you just don't put the £1 through. But the 2 times I've done it the last week or 2 weeks or so, it's been spot on. The client's got the money the same afternoon, which is really good.
And you did a full suitability for the pound withdrawal?
That's right, Andrew. Let's move on to the next point, which is one of yours, actually, knobs.
Yeah, knobs, the famous knobs. Okay, so my book came out, No BS Money Advice. The website is nobullmoney.co.uk. Just a massive thanks, really, to anyone who bought it. I think probably a few people did buy it, a few Trappists, which is much appreciated. I hit number 3 in the personal finance chart very, very briefly for a few hours or a day behind... Thank you, Nicholas. Behind Mr. Morgan Housel, close personal friend of the show, and I was number 1 on a couple of other lists. So, huge, massive appreciation. So, thank you very much.
I'm looking forward to receiving it. Obviously, some pre-order, not out till March.
Not out till March. Yeah, sorry, that's just on pre-orders. I do have the physical book, so I'll be sending that to you boys if I can.
That out. I messaged him and I said, I could buy it on Kindle or I could buy it on the physical book. What's best for you? Because I make a bit more on Kindle. So he's managed to negotiate better terms with Jeff Bezos on Kindle. So I bought it on Kindle.
Andy, if you're posting one out to me, just don't sign it if you don't mind.
It maintains its resale value if you don't sign it.
It was half term last week, so I went away with friends and I took a few copies, and a guy rocked up. I said, "Oh, I'll give you a copy." He said, "Oh yeah, brilliant." So I signed it. Dear, put his name in it. He left and didn't take it home with him. I had to take it to the pub the next day. I said, "Ozzy, you didn't take your book." I wrote "Dear Ozzy" in it. It's quite funny. Had to.
I'm not an expert in the book industry, but I would expect authors to get more of a Kindle keep than with a physical book because the costs are way less. Surely that's why it works.
The business of books is.
Well done,
I'm
Andy.
not making any money from it. People, the people that are making money are the book publishers and Mr. Bezos. So certainly not a money making scheme. But thanks a lot. Over to you, Alan.
Have you updated all your social media profiles with book publisher, with author?
No. Best-selling author. I've not done it yet.
International keynote speaker. Best-selling author.
I'll wait till it comes out.
Okay, The Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
No, The Return of Annuities.
Yeah. We're going to have to do a book review episode when we finally get access to it. I thought this was quite interesting. Pension annuity sales hit record. Record-breaking 2025, sales growing to 7.4 billion in annuities for the first time ever. And so there's a big story in the newspaper about this. Big volume of annuity sales. The one thing I did think, and all this was interesting, apart from that is quite interesting, because I know you guys are pretty much anti-annuity, but Mariana Hunt at the investment firm Fidelity International said its recent data showed that a 66-year-old in good health with a £300,000 pension pot could buy a single life annuity paying $22,440 a year, a rate of about 7.5%. Now, 7.5% guaranteed for the rest of your life sounds like not a bad bet, actually, for many people. And I know the circumstances change and people have got different
Well, knock off
profiles
20% tax at least. Knock off 20%
yeah,
tax.
but even so, 7.5% guaranteed for the rest of your life. And some people just want to know that
guaranteed.
this will
You've
be paid,
guaranteed you've given up your
£22,500 a
capital.
year will be paid for as long as I live.
You've given up your capital. What kind of guarantee is that? I'd expect
That's
at least
a single life annuity as well, isn't it? So
Yeah, it is.
it's
But
level.
say
Even
for
the life
certain
one,
people
by
who are
inflation.
single or widowed or whatever, it's the numbers are there. It's been a record year because obviously rates
that's why
have
my
gone
hand
up.
is raised. That's why my hand is raised. So the Guardian very conveniently gave you the purchase value of the annuities, right? X number of billion.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet it's not the record number of annuities being purchased. That's a completely different. The fact that we've had asset prices go through the roof since the last time annuities were any value, sort of pre-2008, that pension funds have gone up. I imagine the amount of annuities being sold is nowhere near the record value.
That's a good point, Nick. Yeah, 7.4 billion is the number, but it doesn't say how many thousand they've sold.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They have a place. They have a place in that round thing under the desk. Okay. Christ, go on, Andrew.
Oh, this is me. Oh, this is very interesting. So the growth rates.
We'll
of
be
the
the judge of that.
We've already discussed this in our group, so don't be leaving me hanging. So the growth rates between the 30 largest investment and mortgage advice firms. So this has been covered by a professional advisor. But the headline they went for, which is a bit sneaky, St James's Place loses 43 advisors in second half of 2025, not focusing on the ups and downs of all these 30 large companies. I mean, SJP have got 5,153 and they lost a net of 43. I think there's still some impressive numbers, but a couple of other firms that stood out, and I think, Alan, you've gone through this. Valid Path, I think, had the biggest increase, which is a network. Valid. Yeah, so Valid Path. Bloody hell. Evelyn are on there, a few other people, the usual characters. There was a company that put this together. They are called ISS Market Intelligence. I think they did a big post on LinkedIn. This is where they've taken this information from. Another new player, New Leaf, is another network that's gaining number of advisors quite aggressively. All of them are generally growing, but yeah, some of them are growing gangbusters. Did any of you boys look at this? You looked at it, didn't you, Alan?
I did. I studied it closely, like you did. What this tells me is this is just systematic of what we know was going on. We've talked about this before. Huge amounts of M&A. SJP, biggest in the country, have been going through their own challenges. We know we've had an ex-SJP partner on here who went independent in recent times. You see, so the actual numbers of companies have reduced because if somebody leaves a bit, if you work for a firm and it gets taken over by a consolidator and then your life becomes less good than it was before, because that's often the way it is, you're getting these breakaways. There is, all of us know, we know individual circumstances. We get contacted by various people who are setting up on their own or two or three of them together. So there's a lot of this going on, but we do also know that it is nigh on impossible right now to go directly authorized. It's a real challenge. So they're going down the network route. Valid Path appear to be the main beneficiaries of this. New Leaf, we also know.
Sense.
Yeah, so that's not a new advice firm. That's just another appointed rep on an existing. So the actual numbers of advice firms are falling because consolidation is going on, hoovering up other firms, and then when you've got breakaways starting, they are going down the route. And even like the likes of the SJP and the OpenWorks and the M&Gs and all these big brands, when their breakaway firms set up, they go down the appointed rep route. So right now is a good time to be an appointed, like Valid Path. They're doing really well, as are some of the others. So it's a reflection and a data format of what we already know because we're involved in multiple conversations with people.
Yeah, it sort of confirms our thoughts, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, keeping it punchy, keeping it going because we're 35 minutes in. Wodge, you've got some more good fiscal news from your side of the RSC.
Yeah, so it's funny this one though. So we've had in the recent past a new minister for finance has been appointed, and we have two kind of parties running our government in Ireland. And the new minister for finance has decided he's come up with a great idea to reduce the tax on investments and to hopefully do away with the deemed distribution. So we have to pay the tax after 8 years. And this is his brand new idea, and he's very excited and energized about bringing, real wealth to Irish households. Even though myself and a number of others have been shouting about this for the last 3 or 4 years, this is his brand new idea. But not to be outdone, so he's from one party, from the Taoiseach is from another party. So he's come out and said, after the Minister for Finance was excited about bringing all this wealth to families in Ireland, the Taoiseach came out and said the capital gains tax rate is too high. So we're reducing that as well. I mean, we are all going to benefit massively out of this, I hope, assuming it all comes through the budget later on in the year and maybe even next year, that there's kind of a program for taxation on investments in Ireland. It will be absolutely magnificent. It's just a little bit childish for them to be saying that these are brand new ideas when people have been extolling the virtues of this for the last while. The massive one, the exit tax came down from it came down to 38% in the last budget, whereas capital gains tax is 33% at the moment. The reduction in that will be really, really good, obviously. But the big one is this 8-year deemed distribution, if they got rid of that. So there is no deemed distribution with capital gains, but exit tax on funds there is. And it kind of interrupts the golden rule of compounding.
Yeah.
So getting rid of that, I think, would be absolutely huge for every wealth advisor in Ireland. And,
are they thinking about scrapping it totally, Carl, or just reducing it? We don't know.
They're saying scrapping it because what's the alternative? If you keep it, do you make it? Oh, it's 10 years. Do you just what? So just make it kind of it's still there. It's only just a little bit less shit. So I really do think that they're going to get rid of this. But watching the politics play out, and this is funny, and we're going to benefit from them point scoring against each other to make sure that they kind of are seen to be front and center in these new in these new measures. But they're all talking about this 170 billion on deposit. In basically, Irish families have that amount of money on deposit. The banks aren't giving any return. I think the return that they're giving them overall is about 0.2% a year. So obviously the banks are creaming that in, and they're saying, oh, well, what if we invested all this money and created wealth for ourselves? And if anyone doesn't believe me, well, I did an interview with Pat Kenny, so on live radio, national radio, about this. And I'd probably say it every second episode on Trap. So I've been banging on about this for ages and ages. Finally, it seems that this is about to happen. And now we can start creating legacy stuff in our country. We can start creating wealth ourselves. We're not dependent on the government, because we will not always be in the great position that we're in. There was a report last week that over 40% of our corporation tax take comes from three companies.
But you're pleased
imagine if any of us had a business where I'm going, yeah, Jesus, if one of those guys left, I'd be rightly screwed. You'd be going, well, that's a terrible, terrible business model. So it is a terrible business model. So we need to do lots of things to try and fix that. And one of them is by allowing us to create wealth for ourselves in this country, which finally it looks like we will be able to do.
Could you get your finance minister, to have a word with Rachel? Because Ireland seemed to be, as you keep reminding us, thriving as an economy.
Well, we're a
and
progressive
someone needs to
nation,
understand that lowering tax rates can often actually lead to higher tax revenues.
Yeah.
We don't seem to understand that in the UK right now.
Yeah, and they're saying basically that's one of the reasons. So the capital gains tax was 20%. It went to 40%. They brought it down to 33%. And they're saying that the capital gains take at 20% was much higher than it is at 33% because
Wow.
people are
Shit.
thinking,
No shit.
yeah. So it's like, this is obvious stuff. This is like, let's get investment moving. Let's allow Irish businesses to scale here, so they stay here instead of buggering off to America.
Well,
so,
sadly, Carl, what's obvious to the Irish is not obvious to the British presently.
yeah. Well, look, sorry about that, boys, but
Yeah,
them's the
well, it all
breaks.
comes around. What goes around comes around. Okay, Ultra.
Yeah, this is just very more grim news when it comes to people managing their finances. It was an article in the Times, but the company that did the research was a company called Spring. I believe there's some sort of cash advisor, cash management company. Basically, 87% of the UK's current accounts pay no interest as of November 2025. So that's the information came in some time ago. So there's basically 325 billion held at zero interest rates, and a lot of them have high balances as well. So a lot of them are over £10,000 and a lot of them are over £100,000. So again, we are trying to do all we can. We're incentives drives behaviour. We're limiting the amount that the young'uns can play into cash ISAs. They were trying to direct them to investment ISAs. They're trying to fiddle around with some of the other incentives to direct the money to the UK into certain type of asset classes. We're trying to promote an investing culture. But as I said on last week's 2 weeks ago show, there is so much marketing activity going on at the moment with investment platforms directly. And if the corporate marketing firepower can't change people's behavior, then we are slightly in a bit of a problem. So hopefully it does slowly over time switch people from savers to investors. But switching from a saver to an investor is a big mindset shift, and not everybody can do it. So yeah, just a load of cash, paying 0%, and it's potentially worse for businesses as well. We all run businesses in the UK. We know that business balances are normally higher than personal balances, and they pay sweet FA. In actual fact, we pay them to pay us nothing on our money. There are various ways we can find better returns, but it's a lot more jumping through hoops than it is for personal individuals. So there's probably close to £1 trillion paying no money, no interest on cash in the UK. Over to you boys.
Well, our work is never done. I think you just said it there, but it'll never change. It'll never change. That's the ignorance will never change.
Though, we probably alluded to it before. I do see that as a great kind of prospecting opportunity, really, for business owners, because there is. What did I see the other day? 230 billion or something. There was, hundreds of billions are in SME bank accounts. Much of which is not, it's just sort of, it's not day-to-day money, it's long-term. I've got a bit of surplus profit. I'm not taking it out of the company now because I'm going to get rinsed once again on tax. So I'll leave it in the company, earning zero, inflation. And by the way, there's a whole other thing there on inflation. Don't use CPI figures when it comes to business owners. If anyone running a business knows, once you add in your salary costs, your energy, your regulatory costs in our line of work, and a bunch of other things. I did a calculation a while ago that inflation is more like 8 or 9% in SMEs, UK SMEs. And if you're getting bugger all, I mean, it doesn't take too many years of compounding it, losing 8% of real value to get wiped out. So I think it's a great opportunity for advisors to open doors with, because we know just very simplistically, the likes of Transact offer a decent rate on corporate accounts, corporate investments. There's a bunch of other things are available also. But if I was a business owner, someone reached out to me and told me those facts, I'll be open to a conversation about how to not have my money just melt like an ice cube in front of me. Interesting.
Okay. Staying with you, Ultra. This is something that affects three of us. Yeah, sure.
This is something that I have mentioned before, but I'm going to mention it again because I was writing about it in the paper at the weekend. This is all about this making tax digital. So from the 6th of April 2026 this year, if you're a sole trader and run a relatively small business, but your revenue is over £50,000 and you're a landlord and the revenue of your property income is over £50,000, or you run a sole trader business and you're a landlord and the grand total of your turnover goes over £50,000, your life is going to be turned into a very different tax reporting structure. Currently, you keep everything in a shoebox. Once a year, you pull the shoebox out, Give your plastic bags and shoebox to a bookkeeper and an accountant. They knock something up and then do a submission. It's all changing. You need to have digital accounting software like Xero or Free Agent. You need to submit every quarter to the revenue. So your reporting requirements have gone from 1 a year to 5 a year. Currently, it's £50,000. Next year, April 2027, it's going to go down to £30,000. And in April 2028, you're going to go down to £20,000. This is hairdressers, massage therapists, taxi drivers. It's going to be millions and millions and millions of people paying loads and loads of additional costs for accountancy software for a start, 20, 30, 40 quid a month, an accountant to look after it, the submissions to be done every quarter. It is insane. So again, it's more landmines for small business owners to navigate. It's more reporting requirements that the revenue is going to do something with or not. I don't really know. I mean, I'm personally caught up by it, but I've got an accountant, I've got accounting software. So my life's going to be changed by about, 2%. My accountant, I'm assuming, is probably going to charge me, a few extra pennies. But, I'm already geared up for it and ready. But a lot of people are not. Over to you, Nick.
Yeah, my point is, to what end? To what bloody end? They're still going to get the same amount of tax back. They're just going to be keeping their eye on us 4 times a year or whatever. It's just, leave us alone. I read an article, I can't remember who, maybe Smithy, you posted it in our chat, that some of these big PLCs are going to have less reporting schedules than some of these smaller, like the guy with a buy-to-let and the girl with a hairdressing business, but something else over here. Yeah. We're reporting more to HMRC on a more regular basis. They're massive single entities. It's just like, piss off.
If you run a sole trader that is VAT registered, like I do, I've now got to do 9 reporting events a year. I've got to do make tax digital every quarter. I've got to do a VAT return every quarter, and I've got to do my official return. 9. It's just administration hell.
There was
you could have one property, Nick, that brings in £21,000 a year. You're now caught up by make tax digital. Sorry, when it comes in 2028. So it's just hell.
There was a report in the papers at the weekend saying that there's a significant amount of people on that sort of on the cusp of those earnings who are just saying, do you know what? I'm going to can it. It's just not worth it for the money.
I'm not going to increase my rent.
My
rent is going to stay at 20 grand a year.
Yeah, I'm just going to increase it to 21. I'm going to claim some benefits. I'm going to get a state pension. I'm going to retire. Yep.
Yeah.
They don't seem to think through.
Genuinely don't think we have any of that in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Well done.
Yeah, so I mean, just to make it advisor relevant, just be on the front foot a bit with some of your clients that got caught up by this, because I don't think some people realise how onerous this is going to be. Nicholas,
it reminds me of when auto enrolment was brought in for pensions, and
a little bit like that.
But if you had it started off with it was the biggest companies, 500 employees, then 100, and then now it is, as far as I'm aware, you boys correct me if I'm wrong, but it's now if you've got one employee.
Yeah.
So I've known clients that have got like a nanny or a housekeeper or something. It does but they're a proper employee and they've got to auto enroll them into a pension scheme now. It's just another load of friction.
A trap auto enrolment scheme.
Yeah, we should do.
Oh, looking forward to that.
Happy days are here again.
Oh dear.
Not happening. It's all done by a salary sacrifice. All of it.
I'm going to complain.
Right.
We could get a SAS and buy Bitcoin through it.
Oh my God! Can we lend against the SAS, against the Bitcoin's future values? Yeah, we lend against the Bitcoin's future earnings.
Unravel that onion.
All right, meme coin, a trap meme.
Let's get some order here. Order. We're going to lead off with our final topical tidbit, which leads to a very nice segue to the next part of the show. But to get us started, it is storyteller.
I just wanted, to tee this up. It's been a while since we discussed in detail artificial intelligence, AI, but there's been some events in recent times that have suggested that we should probably bring it back onto the agenda, and we're going to take a deeper dive in a moment or two for a thoughtful conversation, I hope. But I don't know if you guys saw it. There was a couple of things just last week. Everything seemed to blow up. Or in the space of a couple of days, and there was a piece of technology launched in the US. I think Carl's going to give it a bit more detail, which kind of seemed to do the job of a financial planner. there was an article that was written that seemed to just go viral across all social media, got like hundreds of millions of views. And people and all the investment companies in the UK and the US, the share price absolutely cratered and fell significantly. So I'm just going to bring
it sort of attacked different industries, didn't it, Alan, over the last couple of months?
Well, it went through
information services was down, and then it was financial services,
but the other
wealth
thing,
management.
But yeah, you're right, because all these SaaS companies, all these businesses that do software as a service, they've had their share price really hit hard, because you're seeing, well, all these things that you spend £50, £100 a month on, you could just have created for your own personal version of it using all the latest versions of AI. And I think the specific thing was this: the article which went viral was an AI software engineer. That was his business, is what he did. And he said, right, it's game over, because even my business is out of business because this AI is doing this recursive training. It's training itself. I'm out of a job. And I just find this is really, I did a LinkedIn post about it, got a lot of attention. And people, and obviously I'm taking a positive stance on it, but you could take the alternative, and it is quite interesting. I mean, Carl, you had a look at this piece of technology that's launched in the US.
I did. I followed these guys for a good number of years now, and they've been. It's funny because I was like, I loved all the stuff that they were coming out with. I think they started just prior to COVID, actually.
Carl, any chance you could tell the listener who you're referring to?
Altruist. So Jason Wenk, I think, is the guy's name. Could be wrong on that, but I'm nearly sure I'm right on that.
Yeah.
But they actually bought in Hazel.ai, is it, or IO or something?
AI, yeah.
Yeah. So, but they didn't bring anything forward around that time when I was going, this all sounds amazing. And I'll tell you why I put this in, right? So my point in our show notes is Hazel the Holy Grail, right? And is the Holy Grail what we would have spoken about before, which is like doing your financial planning, your CRM, your platform, your meeting notes, your review documents, doing it all in one package, right? And then it seems like Hazel is trying at least to do an awful lot of this, and has a bit of tax planning in there as well. Now, from what I could see, it's only US-based tax planning, right? So for me, I was like aghast that Hazel comes out and they launch it, and then SJP and all the wealth managers out there, all the share price dropped. Because like, little old us have been talking about this for ages, that this is surely coming. So like I have said, and we've all agreed that, yeah, that's the Holy Grail. Don't think anyone is really doing it. Yeah, but surely that's been worked on. So like, is this groundbreaking AI that has just hit the news? It's absolutely not. So that's from Hazel. But surely Hazel and its likes there'll be loads of them now coming out, and we'll all be deciding, well, which ones do we go with?
So many new companies.
And do we pay €20 a month, or do we pay 200 a month to get the premium version, and is it worth it, and blah blah blah, to bring our Voyant looking at this, our platforms looking at this, whatever, right? Bring it all together and make it easier, and then allow us do the real financial planning, which is a softer skill. So this doesn't. I'm totally on Alan's side here, right? This just gives us loads more time to absolutely smash it in terms of the value add, right? To tie everything up, and like, even I could see, like, how our financial planners, our client service folks will be so excited to use all of this technology. I don't think this is like, oh, jobs will be gone. I think this is like, if you're doing real financial planning, this is the Holy Grail. This is what we should be going for. The article, the post that went viral, Alan, right? I saw kind of a tongue-in-cheek, hey, I'm a hot dog owner. I've run hot dogs for the last 20 years. You wouldn't believe what's going on in hot dogs at the moment. You should just go out and buy a load of hot dogs. There was an element of that, and I lost the will to live reading it. I thought it was, far too long for my little brain. But,
I thought it was good. I think it's worth reading it, people.
Yeah,
like good or bad, have an opinion on it.
Yeah, well, yeah. But, I don't know. It sounded like the guy extolling the virtues of his own services or whatever. But I guess who are we to talk? That's what we're doing in this podcast every couple of weeks. That's there's good and bad with AI. I really can't. I was scratching my head. Am I missing something here? Are we not talking about that this was surely coming? And
I just want to chip in here on this, Carl. Now, and something I'm always acutely aware of, or actually I have to remind myself of, and without once wishing to sound like elitist or arrogant or anything else, the four of us, we've been talking about this sort of stuff for years. And we operate in a bubble, though. I mean, Andy Hart knows this more than the other three of us here. But we are a unique part of the advisory community. I'm telling you, last time I asked Andy this very same question, he estimated it was about 10% of the financial planning community do what we call full fat financial planning, really comprehensive, in the weeds, cash flow modeling, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
The significant majority of financial planners in the UK do like investment advice, basically.
Bad investment portfolios.
Consolidate funds, you consolidate your pensions, all that sort of transactional bullshit stuff that doesn't add much value.
Yeah.
And charge, let's call it 1% a year for the privilege of doing that. Now, those people, I do believe, are under threat. Just on a fee compression. I'm not saying they're going to lose all their clients. Yeah, but they're going to get.
There's an article I shared as well, Alan. It's in the show notes, it was in the Irish Times, but it was actually a Financial Times article, and it was like, "Hey, ChatGPT, create me the best portfolio possible." He gave his. Everyone should definitely read this if you're in our business, right? He said, "I'm 53. I've got 700 grand. I want to grow to $1 million." I want to see what ChatGPT give out. Now it's possibly far too complex for what we would give. However, and here's the big however, it's not far too complex for what a lot of the private banks or the big wealth managers would give. That's exactly what they would give out. And ChatGPT just gave him in 30 seconds exactly what he would get when he's sitting around the mahogany table feeling a bit stupid. So yes, that's probably a very fair point, Alan, that what we do and what the big wealth managers do is not the same.
And are they're opening up in Ireland big time as well, aren't they? OpenAI, ChatGPT.
Yeah, so there's swings and roundabouts. Yeah, OpenAI got a building for 500 new jobs in Ireland.
Right. Somebody referenced an article with hot dogs. Is the hot dog article in the links?
No, I could have made that up, but I read it somewhere.
So the long article is the Sherma one, right? Is that the one we're talking about?
Yes.
Right, okay. Right, which we didn't reference particularly well in that piece there. Okay. Well, we're all using AI to different degrees in our business, but we're all advocates for it. And one of the leading financial services focusing brands in the AI market is a company called Saturn. And that takes us neatly on to the meat and potatoes of episode 91 of the Real Advisor podcast. As you may have noticed, dear Trappists, when we have guests on, it is sometimes a suboptimal experience. It certainly is for us doing the recording here, and it may often be for you as the end listener. So we've reconfigured our meat and potatoes. What we're going to try and do going forward as much as we can is have more one-to-one or two-on-one interviews with people where we can really get to have a detailed conversation with people without lags in the recording, without all four of us sometimes over talking the interviewee. And this is our first go at it. So with no further ado, let's head over to poor Rohit Vaish, who was interrogated by Storyteller.
Good luck, Alan.
Hello, Rohit. Welcome to the Real Advisor podcast. Trap. Good to see you.
Hey, Alan. Yeah, lovely to be here. Thanks so much for the invite.
Well, thanks for dropping in. Subject we want to discuss, which is those magic two letters, AI, artificial intelligence, as it relates. Now, I've got a few questions I want to run past you and get you kind of feeling for what's going on right now. But amazingly, and you'd be surprised to hear this, but not everyone knows who you are in the financial planning community, or indeed who Saturn AI is. So let's start by giving us a little bit of background, your own background and the organization that you are working with.
Cool. So I'm Rohit, a co-founder of Saturn. Prior to founding Saturn, I was in financial services. So I worked at Bank of New York Mellon for 4 years, mainly behind Excel spreadsheets, very limited time in front of clients, but doing a lot of analysis on markets and kind of products that would sell to our actual advisor community. Since then, went on to work in and found a couple of different startups. And then when I met Amol in London, my co-founder, one of the topics that kind of resonated with us was financial resilience, and in particular this thing around the advice gap. And so we started to speak with advisors, and that was probably around August 2023 when we started to speak with advisors about their pain points and things like that. And we launched our product in Jan of 24. Since then, we've grown our team to 55, and wow. We are across 650 advice firms in the market. Currently around 9,000 advisors use the platform. And obviously there's a lot to come in terms of both depth of our service proposition and breadth in terms of market. But really today we kind of focus on a couple of different things. So efficiency is a core tenet. We know that advice in general is inefficient. That shows up in the cost of advice being pretty high. And compliance is an incredible burden for advice firms. And that shows up in how many compliance-related activities firms have to do on an annual basis, and how many of their core workflows are positioned around compliance rather than the client experience. And so for us, it's about kind of enabling firms to remain compliant at all times, but really focusing on delivering an exceptional client experience. And so that core tenet drives our product roadmap. It drives how we interact with businesses on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But yeah, happy to get into more details and go deeper if that's the direction you'd like to go in.
Yeah, that's a great summary. So effectively, you have decided to, I mean, there's, I don't know how many thousands there must be of like, AI companies that have sprung up over the last couple of years, but you have chosen in your wisdom to really focus on that vertical called financial planning and try to solve those problems as relates to people working in that profession, both for the businesses, advisors, teams, and ultimately for clients, right? That's exactly right. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Of all the things you could have chosen, you've chosen financial planning. Yeah.
I mean, just to give you a little bit of a, it's a personal anecdote, but I think it relates as to why we started here. So obviously, my heritage is not from the UK. I was born and brought up in Manchester or Wigan, though people don't know that. But my family emigrated here, so my dad when he was 9 and my mum when she was 19. And my dad, being the hustler that he is, he founded a business when he was 14 that he basically didn't really have any idea how the UK financial system worked. He was going to have children and he wanted them to go to great schools and get access to opportunities that he didn't have. And so he was very fortunate actually to have a kind of triumvirate of service people. So accountant, financial advisor, and a lawyer. And those three amongst them basically enabled him to set up the family finances in a way that not only positioned him for long-term growth and success, but also enabled him to give me and my sister opportunities that he could have only dreamed of. And when we distill it down, like Amol has his own personal anecdote that relates him to this mission, but when we distill it down, financial planners are the trusted financial service authority for many clients, 8 million clients across the UK today and families. And we don't believe that globally that is scaled enough. So today 90 million people access financial advice globally. We think that should be at least 10x that. And that's not to say that all of that should be humans doing 2, 3, 4 meetings a year, but everyone should have access to trusted financial planning advice. And for us, when you look at the UK in particular, and you look at other adjacent markets in the Commonwealth, there are a huge number of regulatory challenges that firms have historically solved through adding people and adding process and bureaucracy, that in this moment, and obviously last week's sell-off is an interesting reaction from the market, but in this moment, I think it's more pertinent than ever for us to focus on the future of human-led financial advice and how we can enable that to be scaled across many more people, across many more sectors and parts of the country, people who haven't typically had access. And I think technology forms a core part of that, but technology has never been the magic bullet. And so we would always say that this human-led advice is going to be empowered and augmented through technology, but it is not in and of itself, technology is not in and of itself the solution to all problems and ailments.
Interesting. I love your mission, and thanks for sharing your personal story. I often find that people who are really driven, it comes from something personal. Obviously, your dad's backstory and your own family, and wanting to take this to a wider audience, because you're right. It's still an exclusive offering, really. In financial planning of any description is, I think the numbers are about 9% of the adult population in the UK will pay for financial advice, leaving 91% without access for one reason or another. Now, you just mentioned, and this is the key thing, this is why I wanted to have you on and discuss this, particularly at this moment in time, because all of a sudden, as you just referred to, very recently a couple of things happened across the marketplace and everyone started really paying attention. A fintech startup in the US, Altruist, launched what looks to me like a very valuable but relatively straightforward tax planning tool. Haven't looked at it or tried it, and at the same time, I don't know if it was related, but I'm going to take the view there was a post went viral across all social media from a software engineer, someone who's running an AI business in the US, and he just said, everything has changed now because AI is now finally broken through. It has now got to the level where these models are so advanced that they're training themselves. I think they call it recursive. So they're all development and training, and the whole thing is speeding up super quickly. Now those things happened, I think, in one day, and then the following day, all the major wealth managers, asset managers, fund groups in the UK, and a lot of them in the US as well, the relative share prices absolutely crashed. SJP fell, AJ Bell, Aberdeen, all the usual suspects, and across the pond, Raymond James and a bunch of others as well. The share price fell quite a lot, and literally, tens of billions in the UK and hundreds of billions across the US were effectively wiped off the share prices, and that was the market's immediate sentiment to some of these new breakthrough developments, some of the commentary that's out there in social media, and some of the conversations that seem to be happening pretty much on a daily basis. So, and then, obviously, ever the opportunist, I posted on LinkedIn about that, my take on it. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but it seemed to be very popular. Most people were in agreement with me, but my take on this was, in summary, and we'll post a link to that LinkedIn post in the show notes if people haven't seen it, was this is amazing, it's fantastic, I see it as really positive and see it really as good news. But if we've got anything to go by, and as history is our only real guide that we've got, every time there's transformational technology throughout history, more opportunities, more work, more types of jobs are created. Yes, there's disruption, but there's a future level of abundance that is much greater than it's ever been in the past. That's my view. Obviously, you might say I've got a vested interest in that being the case. But just love to have your thoughts, observations on all that activity, share price activity, my post, and anything else you think is relevant to this conversation.
Yeah, so I think the sell-off is a pretty instinctive reaction from the market that says, and signals, so the signal rather than the noise that we should take from it is that there are going to be shifts around business models, there are going to be shifts around kind of the underlying structure of a financial planning and investment focused business. And the way you'll see those structural changes happen will be through income statements and balance sheets, and how some of those historic costs start to get repositioned and re-put into growth activity because you don't need that level of cost to be kind of ingested by the business. I think that you're absolutely right, and I think, Alan, this actually speaks back to a few conversations that we had at the very beginning when we first were introduced to each other, which was your belief that we are entering a golden age of financial planning. And I think you said that on a couple of public-facing videos too. But my view, and our view at Saturn, is that yes, there is an opportunity. Yes, there is risk, as is always the case. When the internet came to be, it repriced a number of businesses that relied on high street. It repriced a number of businesses that relied on more shopfront rather than online service delivery. That's 100% true. But what remains in our minds is that human beings will always trust human-led advice much more in those pivotal moments where it comes to me sending my children to the right school or university, me paying for my parents to get the care that they need as they move through the ages. That is not going away. That has been true since the shamans and the oracles back in ancient Greek times, and that is true today. Why are financial advice businesses and financial planners in particular so valuable? It's because they are the trusted source for financial related activities. And our view is that those who modernize, those who adopt this technology, will steamroller those who don't and those who cower in fear. And ultimately, I think as business owners, financial planners and directors of these businesses need to be very open to what the business model change could look like, notwithstanding the fact that on the front and on the face of it, there will be human-to-human led advice at its core. Everything else around it is the things that we need to look at. We need to understand, where does the value sit for me in my business, and how do I use this technology to take out some of those non-valuable elements and to add more value to my clients. If we look at the cost to serve in the UK, it's around £2,000 a year for an annual review client that you serve once. That is incredibly high, and 70% of that is human-related admin. Now, imagine if you take that human-related admin and condense those costs, not to 70%, but to actually only 10% or a fraction at least of the cost to serve. You cut down the cost to serve. That's not to say you have to reprice. It's to say that now you can reallocate some of those resources to being more valuable, a financial guide to your clients. And what do we mean by that? Well, what we mean by that is if you look at Hazel, there's a funny story about Hazel. Hazel were in our Y Combinator batch in San Francisco, and they were called Time. They were acquired by Altruist in June of 2025, and they called their AI note taker and some of the other solutions that they had Hazel. And now obviously what they've launched is a tax planning solution that, as you say, is relatively simple. But what it speaks to is that people don't understand, markets don't understand the value of human-led financial advice. Though it will remain, consumers will not move away from human-led financial advice. What we as an industry have to think about now is that we have to think about how do we adopt and adapt to this technology in the way that we operate, in our processes, in the way that we serve clients. Can I go from giving my clients 2, 3, 4 touch points to having a scheduled touch point once a month? Perhaps they don't value it. Some might say that's too much. But imagine all of the things you can start to do with access to this compute, otherwise known as artificial intelligence, that will enable you to add parts to your proposition that have not been possible before. That's how I would encourage people to think. I would encourage people to think in a similar way to you, optimistically, about what we can do for clients and how many more clients we can serve, what types of new proposition can we launch for client segments that we have not previously served. Those would be the questions that would be running through my head. And I think, by the way, the market sell-off reaction is basically a sell-off reaction to being kind of confronted with this world-changing technology and distribution, but still unclear as to where that money goes, right? The markets will kind of probably normalize over the next 2 to 4 weeks because people will start to kind of get used to the news that AI is here and AI is taking a leap forward. But the true repricing will come over the next 5 years, in which business models will have to change and adapt. Rather than being kind of focused on the cost base, we can start to think about value and add to the value that we as an industry provide.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, it strikes me that as we have moved, and if you've been in this game for more than a decade or 15 years, as I obviously have, it's an industry. What has happened is we've moved from a sales industry to a service profession. And the majority of the work that my colleagues do, and I think most proper financial planners and the people that tune into this podcast, full fat financial planning, is servicing existing clients. Most businesses spend 80-90% of the time probably looking after existing clients, attending annual planning meetings, follow-ups, preparation, and what have you. But if you break down the actual, as you say, it's £2,000, arguably more in certain parts of the country, to service an existing client. A great deal of that is repetitive, administrative, gathering data from various places, uploading it into various spreadsheets, charts, presentational graphs, following up, PDFs, blah, 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 all that stuff. There's lots of kind of moving parts, right? And there's data being extracted from multiple different sources. strikes me that that's a potential big win. If you can really distill down the core aspects of this, which most people call, or everyone's got a version of it, an annual planning meeting. So I'm going to prepare very, very well for it. I'm going to do the delivery of it, ideally in person, human to human, and then I'm going to do the follow-up. And it's the prep and the follow-up. If we can really shrink that down, make it super efficient, high quality, highly personalized, I think we can, that's a significant win. Would you agree? Is there things going on at Saturn to help with that?
Yeah, so I completely agree with you, Alan. I think one of the core mission for us, as I said at the beginning, is to increase the number of people who have access to this brilliant service that this industry has provided for many years. And when you think about what a financial planner does at the moment, like you say, your annual planning meeting, preparing for it. I know at Capital you guys are very focused on holistic financial planning. I think some firms haven't been able to offer that because it's too expensive or they don't have the right tools and the right technology. I would say that what tools like Saturn should be angled towards is how do I as a financial planner get closer to the center of that family's life, family's financial life in particular. And what are all of the peripheral services around that I need to start providing to my clients to ensure that they are receiving the best of me and the best of my expertise. The annual planning meeting is a great opportunity for you to check in with your clients as to how things are going and what's happening in their life, whether it's positive, negative, or in between. And the tools that we're building or have built and deployed, so quite a number of firms now are using kind of our annual review meeting kind of workflow. The tools that we're building are really to take out some of that fatty admin that exists. We want the industry to provide a better service. Not saying that it's bad, saying that it's actually really good because clients keep coming back, and NPS scores in this industry are very high. Somewhere in the region of 85 to 90 is the NPS score of a financial advice client. And so we're not saying that it's bad, but we're saying that if you remove all of that admin, you could become more integrated with that client's financial life. You could provide them with more opportunities to achieve their financial goals and well beyond. And we need to start thinking of, as you said, that world of abundance. Innovation accelerates us towards better advice. And so whilst the market will move and repricing will happen, Jeff Bezos has a great quote, which is, markets in the short term are like a barometer, but in the long term they're a weighing machine. And a weighing machine is kind of this long-lasting thing. A barometer moves every day or every hour. Yeah. And so what we need to start doing as an industry is focus on the core. We are, at our core, service professionals who help clients go from A to B, help clients go from pre-retirement to retirement, help clients go from retirement into their later years where they can hand money down to their kids, provide all those opportunities that they need. That is our job. And we, as a technology company, are in service of that. So if we're not building the tools that are going to help you do that, people should hold us accountable to it. But I promise you, all of our roadmap is designed around this kind of admin process that exists to put the financial planners more at the center of their client's financial life.
Absolutely spot on. And I remember one of our earlier conversations with your co-founder, of my conversation with Amal, and he was just saying, so the way that he envisaged it, the service, the experience proposition, is that ultimately it's like two old friends meeting for a cup of coffee and a conversation. That's the essence of the client relationship. We kind of know each other, we're having healthy conversations, and we're using our intellect, our knowledge, our wisdom as advisors and consultants to sort of join the dots, whilst everything else, all the technical aspects, the admin, the compliance, is being taken care of to a super high standard, which in turn enables better quality conversations, longer conversations, more frequent exchanges, conversations, meets up, cups of coffee, Zoom calls, whatever it needs, which creates that kind of emotional glue that makes the whole thing worthwhile. And frankly, that's why most people come into the profession, is to do more of that and less Excel spreadsheets and compliance reports, let's face it. So we'd love to hand all that stuff across to Saturn and firms like you. Now, I'm conscious of time because I know that my co-host on Trap, Mr. Lincoln, will be getting edgy because we're pushing up against the time limitations. Just a couple of very brief things as we wrap up. It was very apparent to me from when I posted out on LinkedIn and some of the feedback I got that there are people on various different parts of the journey. Some people are pretty deep in the weeds and have been sort of pretty active with AI and development in the advisory space over the last couple of years, and others literally have done nothing. They've taken a look at ChatGPT and thought, too complicated. What's your advice to somebody who's definitely very early stages, recognize that there's a technological revolution happening, but doesn't quite know at this stage what the first step is that they should take? What should they do?
So I think this is always the way that I would approach change, the way that we approach business building or product building, is identify the core problem. Elon Musk was on a podcast recently. He frames it, he always looks at solving the limiting factor to either getting another rocket into space or kind of growing Tesla in terms of number of cars. I think it's the right way to think about it. As a business owner, think about what is the limiting factor for you to providing that amazing experience to your clients, or from growing from 100 clients per advisor to 120, if that's the metric that you view as success. I think have an idea as to what the kind of limiting factor is, and then look for solutions out in the market that are going to help you solve that limiting factor. And so that's really how we designed Saturn from day one, was around the core pain points that advice businesses have. For us, it's always around data. And so data and compliance are two things. Now, maybe to certain people that sounds a little bit jargon heavy, so let me distill it. Ultimately, the reason why an advisor takes 60 minutes to do a set of notes, or a power planner has to have several conversations with an advisor to write a suitability report, is because they don't have a shared source of truth when it comes to data. They don't understand that client to the depth that they need to be able to write that advice. Now, the core product that we would develop is a data capture tool, a suite of tools that enable you to capture data, convert that data into some type of usable asset that can be used by the team. So that team could be support staff, power planners, financial planning assistants, advisors over time, or compliance people. But ultimately, that source of truth, that primary source of data, needs a place and needs to be captured. And so we would say that when I look at advice businesses, and obviously we work with a number of them, that's for us the core issue that we see at the heart of everything. All inefficiency comes down to access to data. And then, off the back of it, you can start to power workflows. So you can start to do your suitability reports utilizing AI. You can start to run file checking. You can start to run advice quality observations. You can start to do all of this wonderful stuff. And then if you think about what Hazel has launched in the US and kind of the types of tools that will enable you as an advisor to do more with that client's information, you can then start to run different scenarios off the back of it instantly with that information that you have. But until you have that core source of truth, it's going to be very difficult, or it's going to be erroneous if you start to run workflows off the back of kind of half-truths or 70% factual information. And so for us, it's always been about make sure that the capture of that data is happening at primary source, and then move it through different workflows. And when we solve these problems, we start to see huge amounts of efficiency. So there's a firm I was speaking to not that long ago, probably a couple of weeks now, who, using our annual review tool, they've cut out 75% of the time that it took them to do an annual review. So they've been using meeting notes for quite some time. They added this functionality on, but we've worked with them to design their workflow to be ready for AI. Now, a business like that is not going to get steamrolled by an AI like Claude or OpenClaude or any kind of generic tool. What's going to happen is that business is going to be able to take on a number of additional clients whilst not reducing the quality of service for their existing clients. And that, for me, is the core. And then we expand out the types of services that advisors can start to bring in-house as well.
Fantastic. It all sounds very positive, very optimistic. There's no question there is a technological tsunami heading our way, and it just seems to be getting bigger. You and I have been speaking for a couple of years, and pretty much it seems to me that it's speeding up now. It really is broken through, as the guy was posting on social media, the software engineer guy last week. And you're either going to ride the wave, like the firm you've mentioned, or you're going to get bowled over by it. And most of us want to be on top of that wave, riding it to success. Rohit, people are tuning into this who just want to learn more about you, learn about Saturn. Where do I send them? Where should they go to learn more about Saturn?
So our website is obviously a great source of information about some case studies that we've kind of put on there, and the product suite. If you want to get in touch directly with me, it's rohit@heysaturn.com. And there's a kind of booking form on our website as well that will enable you to speak to one of the team if you're looking to kind of explore the tools that we have and get started. my message for everyone who's tuning in would be, we're at an inflection point in the industry, I feel. You called it a golden age probably a year and a half ago. I think that golden age is coming closer and closer. And I think that what we need to do as a business is position firms to be ready for that golden age and for all of these kind of capabilities, with security, data privacy, and all of those things in mind, but focusing on excelling and improving that client experience. So we're super excited here at Saturn, the 55 of us, and it'll grow to 60 next week, I'm sure. But we're really excited about the future of this industry and about where we, as a firm, can take our partner firms.
That's brilliant. Rohit, thanks so much for coming on Trap and sharing your wisdom. Cheers, all the best.
Thanks so much, Alan. Take care. See you.
Really good. Enjoyed that. Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought Alan, for a change, let Rohit speak. I guess it was really good. I actually, let's go back to, he's talking about AI, right? But actually, the part that caught me the most about the interview was when he told his own backstory.
Yeah, I love that.
And he made it personal, and it's kind of, this is a mission. So hey, there you go. We're talking about AI. We're talking about, how can we bring AI forward? But then on the other hand, we're going, hey, this is personal, actually. This is a personal mission. Yeah. For me, guys, this is the only way forward for doing these interviews. I think Alan got a lot more out of Rohit than we have ever got out of any other guest when we're all trying to fumble around and who's next and what's going on and gaps and all that. So well done, Alan. Really good. And thank you so much, Rohit.
Well done, Alan. Superb interview. You're quite good at that. You should maybe set up a podcast or something. Have you thought about it?
Oh, you're so funny.
You raised your hand for that.
Oh, that was it. That's your point, is it?
That's it. Okay, let's move on. Word. Let's move on. We're now we're nearly 90 minutes into this show, and we haven't even done the whatever we call it next segment, the Trappist questions. I can see that
you've been thrown by this new setup.
Just hold the bulging sack of Trappist questions up my drive. If you want to submit a question to us, Trappist, please do so via the pinned tweet on X, via the pinned X on tweet, and or in the link in the so-called show notes, a permanent link there. We do get to these questions. We do order them in chronological order, and I think we're through to September of last year. And this is quite a good one. Today's episode, by hook or by crook, has somehow coalesced around the idea of AI. A bit of AI in the Topical Titbits, a lot of AI with Rohit from Saturn in the meat and potatoes, and some AI in the question from a chap who I believe, as I open up his letter, is called, let's have a look, Chris Rayner. Chris is on LinkedIn, so his profile will be in the so-called show notes. Chris Rayner asks, leaving this as an open question, given your extensive experience, what are your thoughts on the Microsoft report that put personal financial advisors in the top 40 jobs to be impacted by AI? I mean, I'll go very quickly on this. We did kind of address it in the tail of the Topical Tidbits. And I'm trying to acknowledge my own biases on this. I might have an enormous blind spot. Maybe we all do. So I'm cognizant of that. But I don't think it should affect, as Carl alluded to, it shouldn't affect what we do, because what we do is very much human. It's emotion driven, and I think AI creates the chance to add massive value by streamlining the more automated parts of our business, the more sort of tech info led side. Creates more time for the human contact, where we can just reinforce our message to people on a one-to-one footing. That's me gone. No one's raised their hand, so I presume we're moving on.
I would just add that these people like Microsoft or whoever, they don't really understand. It's the trouble. They don't really understand the job or the role. What I would say is, and this is a pretty hard-hitting comment, but the traditional role of a paraplanner, what we call a paraplanner, in my opinion, that's done. That is gone. It's just a matter of when, and it'll come sooner rather than later. As somebody who sits down and takes information from a written note or a spreadsheet or something, interprets that and understands it to the same, that role is really going to fundamentally change. You'll still, for the time being, you'll still need people doing quality control and checking things, but there's no human can do that better than a machine. So that traditional role, I think, is gone. But the real job of a proper financial planner, no, that is now going to be enhanced, as we've already alluded to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm equally excited and equally petrified about what's going to happen with AI. So I can't call this one yet, but we certainly can't get overconfident. We can't, assume that there's not going to be a huge amount of disruption. Because at the moment we are all utilizing it ourselves. We know clients are, and we're sort of at that sort of hybrid sort of stage with it. Financial advisors is always on the list of jobs to go whenever new technology comes out. So far, that's not happened, and we've been safe. But yeah, this new iteration of software and technology, it's going to be interesting. But
commission disclosure.
Maybe I'm the only one who, during my career, might lose my job through AI, as in you boys might just be lucky enough, based on your ages,
across the finishing line the next decade.
The line, waving at me, saying, "Sorry, Andy, enjoy your last 5 years, mate, on the old rock and roll."
Well, it might also kill your software salesman role, because Buoyant might be AI.
Yeah, that's true.
Software
trainer.
But now that is a point. Look, very quickly, I think it is right to say that the financial advisor role will be one of the most impacted. It definitely will. It's just, I think there's really good stuff coming. But to your point earlier on about the HMRC is saying that, if you're over 20 grand, you have to do all this reporting, right? Surely it's going to get to a stage you just talk on your phone and say, "Hey, do my tax return there," So
everything's
kind of
almost
stuff
immediately done anyway.
Yeah. So
Carl, by the
to
time HMRC adopts that, AI will be on to the next iteration. There'll be something replacing AI.
As a thought experiment, I think if digital and AI get so great, will I ever get rid of my accountant? No, I'm not going to get rid of my accountant. My accountant can use software, in the back end, in the front end. It can streamline his work and his workflow. I'm still never going to get rid of my accountant. I'm still going to have a human that I call up to and talk about things and discuss other things. The human side of it.
I can tell you though, Andy, for example, like saying I'm a best-selling author, that day is gone. It's like talking to hey, write me a book on. There you go.
Top three selling author, isn't it? You can't say best selling.
I was best selling in
one chart in the
online trading.
The Lithuania Times
got right in at the end of where that's going to be. That's going to matter. I think in a few years' time,
everyone's just going to be
have
producing horrendous books, Carl, in 5 seconds, aren't they? I think we're good. Even now, when you text someone on WhatsApp that's had a lot of deep thought, you've got to make it look like not AI. So we've got this weird thing going back now at the same time.
But this is what we're being told, is that AI won't look like AI anymore. It's going to look like just the best book
over time,
in the world ever.
Over time, it'll get better and better because it's all just built on data. But by the way, there's a bunch of things that we might come back to this again. But my team are, because we've all got data in our businesses, the ability to extract, and every day you get more data. And so in time, in a year from now, we're going to have communications that are going to be every bit as kind of real and human and eloquent as any of us are.
Sorry, Andy.
Just a bit of a side story. We sent our first Humans Under Management Premium feedback survey to all of our members. So anyway, we got 100 replies back, and it was very, very detailed data that we got back. We threw it into Claude and said, basically tell us what we need to know and all the things we need to improve. My God, the spreadsheet that it created in literally 5 minutes, it's insane. It would have taken a team of 10 people to go through that. And hours and hours and hours. I know everybody's got stories like this, but wow, see it in action when it produces this stuff is phenomenal. So stuff like that is great. Yeah,
I would encourage people to read the LinkedIn post. It's one of my better ones recently, because I do make the point you just made, Andy, about accountant. I pay through my company, our accountant, a 5-figure sum, but I could get Zero or whoever to do it for a couple of £100. But Paul, my accountant, is a strategic planner. He's a thinking partner. He's just a thought leader, and we discuss these things, and he's worth every penny. And by some weird coincidence, I met him about 2 days after. I didn't think he was even on LinkedIn. He said, "Oh yeah, I saw you on the note the other day."
Oh yeah,
but this is the point. If somebody was and is a basic bean counter accountant who just files your taxes, I don't know. Well, I wouldn't be paying premium fees for them. I wouldn't be paying premium fees for them. I still want a human to just double check before I submit it to HMRC. But those things will change because, you boys with your Teslas and your self-driving cars.
Those two, not me.
Those
just
two,
to be clear.
those two. But remember, these self-driving taxis, Ubers and what have you, they used to have a driver sitting alongside in the car, and then they had it controlled with a control center, and now they don't have anything because they know they are safer than any human being. So that will come in fullness of time. Interesting times.
Okay,
Nicholas.
Right. Time is, we're being very flabby with time on this episode. I
Yeah,
do
we're
apologise.
over now, so let's rock it up.
Good question there from Chris Rayner. Thank you for that. Chris, hope to see you at Trap Live, where you can interrogate us furthermore. Okay, let's come on to the last designated segment of the show, which many people call Culture Corner. Okay, so friend of the show, good man, Justin King, excellent salesman for Sissy. He tapped me up on the last day of the Sissy conference discount, which was last week or so ago. And yes, I'm going now to the Sissy conference in Windsor. And I think you're going ultra. Can't comment about Alan's not going. And Carl, Carl, you're more than welcome, but I'd be very surprised if you come to that. And one of the speakers at the Sissy event is a guy called Matthew Dix, and he's talking about storytelling, the power of storytelling. And really good episode of Matthew Dix being interviewed by Shane Parrish on Shane Parrish's The Knowledge Project. Just how important it is to be able to communicate well, the things you should look for when you have a story. You know, some of it's obvious, beginning, middle, and end, but how you throw out an interesting start and then you work back to how that start originated. And he's got a book out as well, which is on my Kindle. So thank you, Justin, for roping me into Sissy, and thank you for getting me to inadvertently to buy that book by Matthew Dix. But they're well worth listening to that episode. It goes on for about 80 minutes or so. Okay, the next item is unattributed, so I'm going to guess it's Smith.
Oh no, I'm the next one down. I thought that was part of your one. This Google thing. Although, no. Okay. No,
I also saw it, so I did not put it in, and I know
we'll
the next
ignore
person
that.
you're all going to blame.
We'll ignore that and
Nothing
go on
to do
to
with
my proper one, which is keeping up with the tradition and all of our focus on being corporate athletes. Corporate athletes.
Love it.
I know that Carl's just come back from his training regime down in the Indian Ocean, doing some heavy lifting down there, I'm sure.
All inclusive.
Looking forward to seeing you in the flesh soon, Carl. I'm just invested in, you see these guys, this body pod for Hume Health. It's like it's a scales, but it does these it's got metal handles and it tests all your data, all your numbers. People used to go in for this DEXA body scan type thing. It costs a fortune. But this, you can just do it in your home. It's a body pod. It just tracks all the data and therefore encourages you to have a healthier life. The one thing I will say...
So if the weight reading isn't depressing you enough, this is going to absolutely just nail you.
Yeah, and you can do it every day just to get extra depressed. I mean, what's the point?
I quite like the fact that my what do you call
Mr.
it?
Magpie.
My age, according to this, is less than it actually is in real life. So it's like the only positive thing I could say. But it's I think it's pretty good, actually. I shall be using it on a regular basis.
Next.
Body pod. Next.
Matthew McConaughey on the High Performance Podcast. Hadn't actually listened to the High Performance Podcast in a while. Matthew McConaughey, I just think he's brilliant. I really do.
I'll be checking that out.
Gone down YouTube holes looking at Matthew McConaughey's videos. There's loads of little short snippets. And if you've got a teenage son, I would recommend that you get him on to Matthew McConaughey.
Good stuff. I think that's us done for.
Well, I just had my teenage son watch Wolf of Wall Street the other day.
Boys,
he's
we're
in
getting
that
really
as well.
flabby with the time here.
Let's go.
We're an hour 40, okay? Just because we didn't do the meat and potatoes as a segment doesn't mean we should make up for it, but just...
I know, but it was so much fun today, Nick.
Okay, right, there we go, dear Trappists. I think we're at the end of the show. So, episode 91 comes to a close. Please buy a ticket for Trappy if you haven't. They are going. They are seriously going. It's going to be the event in financial services, live podcast recordings happening in May. It's a very niche area, but it'll be the event of that type, the best of it.
Do they buy tickets in Bitcoin, Nick?
You can buy any Far Eastern country. So another part of Trap slides down the U-bend of Father Time. Please do leave a review on iTunes. Leave a 6 out of 5 star review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Until the next time, Trap Hackers, adios. Take care out there. We'll say goodbye to absolutely.
That was a long one.
Yeah,
That's a long one.
Good.